Hi there, welcome to the latest episode of my 10-minute moan. And the topic of this 10-minute moan is my old pal Humza Yousaf again, where it has actually now been publicly announced that he benefited from a different type of justice than Murdo Fraser, a Conservative MSP, and which is obviously shows we have a two-tier justice system here. If you're an MSP, you get one rule. If you're the First Minister of Scotland, you get another. So this goes back to November 23, when Murdo Fraser wrote a tweet about Scottish Government. They were about to put out their non-binary equality action plan, whatever that meant. And Murdo tweeted, choosing to identify as non-binary is as valid as choosing to identify as a cat. I'm not sure governments should be spending time on action plans for either. And that's a point probably shared by the majority of the electorate in Scotland, where we see you've got two options. You can be a man or you can be a woman. So he was just suggesting an opinion shared by many. However, what he didn't know was someone took exception to this. And they made a complaint to the police. The police decided there was no crime committed, but they would put a non-crime hate investigation against him, a hate incident. So they logged a non-crime hate incident against his name and hadn't spoke to him about it. So he didn't know. Because the complainer didn't get, obviously, the result they wanted, they then took their complaint to the Scottish Parliament's Ethical Commission. And when that complaint went in, they cited as evidence and, to help their complaint to the Ethics Standards Commission, that there was this thing lodged against them, and quoted the number. Because they'd been told as a complainer, but Murdo Fraser hadn't. So he was a bit perturbed, as you can possibly imagine, and he's had a year and a half's worth of arguing about it. And he eventually, he went to the police and complained to them and got nowhere. And he then went to the Police Investigation and Review Commissioner, who found in his favour. And what he used as an example of why he was being treated differently, because there was three things he complained about, and I'll go into them in a bit more detail in a minute. But as evidence that he was right, he cited the fact that the First Minister of Scotland at the time, who was Humza Yousaf, had previously been subject to similar complaints about things that he said, and he didn't get a non-crime hate incident recorded against him. And he also cited as a direct comparison was J.K. Rowling, who had also made similar comments about trans people and things, and she'd not received one either, which I'm kind of think that was right. But he was using it to say, well, she's not got one, I shouldn't get one. So I can see why he cited that as well. So that was where the story started and where it went until we found this out today in the Scottish Daily Express. That their headline is, Police Scotland did treat Tory MSP differently than Humza Yousaf when assessing the hate crime complaint. Murdo Fraser has claimed victory over the force which has been warned by the Watchdog Police Investigation and Review Commissioner to look at his complaint over being logged for a non-crime hate incident. Again, Police Scotland did treat him. Veteran politician Murdo Fraser has declared the victory. I've done that same as the thing up there. He was reported to cops under SNP's contentious hate crime legislation after criticising non-binary people. He wrote on X, choosing to identify as non-binary is as valid as choosing to identify as a cat. I'm not sure Scottish Government should be spending time on action plans for either. While police decided to take no action, they lodged a non-crime hate incident against his name. He complained about this after it was revealed that Humza Yousaf and J.K. Rowling didn't receive the same treatment when numerous reports were made against them. The Police Investigation and Review Commissioner launched a probe into the force's handling of the complaint and found they had failed to rebut Mr. Fraser's claim that he'd been treated differently to the First Minister and the Harry Potter author. It also found the officers had failed to acknowledge that the politician's personal data had been recorded in the police system. Also said, the third thing of his complaint, that the force had not addressed the crux of his allegations, that its guidance to officers on how to investigate and record hate crimes was unlawful. Staying up to date with events around the world can be difficult, where it's impossible to consult a single source for the full story. Narratives that shape public opinion often just reinforce media and corporate backed vested interests. It's hard to know what information to trust. See what the media is exaggerating, sensationalising, over or under reporting. That's why I've been using Ground News. Ground News is an app and website that combines news from around the world in one place so you can compare coverage. For every news source, you can see if it has any political bias, how reliable the reporting is, and who owns them. They even have a blind spot feed that highlights news disproportionately covered by one side of the political spectrum. Take a data-driven view on the news and stay current. Get news from thousands of sources worldwide in one place. I've been using Ground News to help me get all the world's news in one place and give a more balanced opinion on what we read and viewing who is telling the truth and who isn't. Subscribe via my link to get 40% off the Vantage subscription. It's the one I use to get unlimited access to every feature. Your subscription can not only help my channel, but also help Ground News, as it makes the media landscape more transparent. The report concluded the Police Scotland did not handle the complaints to a reasonable standard and ordered the force to carry out further inquiry within 2 months. Police logged the complaint about his comment as a non-crime hate incident without telling him, and then refused to withdraw it, insisting it had been victim-centred approach. Which, if that's the way you're going to do it, and it's going to be a victim-centred approach, and you sort of just default go with the person who is a perceived victim, then the other two people should have had them as well, and they obviously hadn't. It prompted Mr. Fraser's lawyer to write to the PRIC to complain that the force had broken down his complaint into 3 allegations, all of which had been rejected without foundation. They claimed that this decision breached his rights to freedom of expression and that cops could not explain why he had been targeted when no NCHIs were recorded against Mr. Yusuf or Ms. Rowling for making controversial statements. The author posted pictures of 10 high-profile trans people and insisted they were not women before challenging the police to arrest her. Remember that? That was on day 1, April the 1st. Was it last year? Yeah, last year. Oh, it's been a long year. Numerous complaints were also made about a speech by the former First Minister in a 2020 debate in the wake of the murder of George Floyd. He went on a rant about the lack of ethnic minorities in key public bodies, saying that 99% of the time he was the only non-white person in the room during government meetings. Critics claimed that this was bigoted and a hate crime, which he firmly denied, but the police took no action over these complaints. One of the main PIRC findings was the main chief inspector who looked at Mr. Fraser's complaint failed to substantiate some of the things he told the Scottish Tory MSP. He told them that he had found no evidence that there was any bias or inconsistency in the way which his hate crime incident had been logged. But the report found that an officer dealing with the complaint had requested clarification about whether a policy decision had been made not to record hate crime incidents in relation to Rowling or Yusuf. But no response was received to this request, which the Watchdog concluded this is a significant shortcoming in the complaint inquiry and establishing the material facts. Mr. Fraser welcomed this victory as he warned Police Scotland had one last chance to justify their stance. So that's the story. And the police said, because what he's saying is they've got 2 months to look into it again. The PIRC concluded, we found the Police Scotland did not handle the complaints to a reasonable standard. Consequently, we have issued 3 recommendation directions to address the shortcomings Police Scotland's handling of the complaints. In reconsidering the complaints, Police Scotland should carry out further inquiry and provide the applicant with further responses. Our reconsideration directions should be completed by Police Scotland within 2 months. Police Scotland spokesperson said, following the recent receipt of the complaint handling review from Police Investigations and Review Commissioner, we will consider the recommendations and a full update will be provided to the complainer in due course. So, the long and short of it, this hate crime, I've done a podcast with one of the country's then leading QCs, who's now a Casey, and we discussed at the time that there was just going to be chaos. And there was probably nobody going to get charged under new legislation that couldn't have been charged previously under any existing legislation, and that seems to be how it's played out. So we've got all this new legislation that's not changed anything, really, apart from it's caused a bit of chaos. And it probably has done one thing, and that's made people more likely to say nothing and not talk in things like gender, not talk about things like immigration, not talk about things like the fears from people from other religions, that sort of stuff. So was that what it was designed for? Who knows? But certainly that's the only thing that it's led to. So if you enjoyed this video, you can do 1, 2 or 3 of the following, please. Click the like button, take a second, put a comment in, and hit the share button and send it to friends in social media, etc., who you think might like the video. And if you've not already done so, please consider hitting the subscribe and notification bell. But more importantly than that, unless you're the type of person that pushes, because he was the Justice Minister when this nonsense started. As long as you're not the type of person that pushes for this type of legislation that causes chaos and then benefits from it as opposed to the way others be treated, then not you. But
everyone else, have a great day. Cheerio, bye now.